I have to say that having threatened you to start with by saying that you had better keep it lively so we didn't go to sleep, I don't think there's been a snore in the house so far. Well, ladies and gentlemen, after logistics, it's time for technology. We've talked about how technology has transformed the way retailers and consumers interact with each other. We just heard from Joy how they're changing the way retailers around the world interact with consumers in different parts of the world, creating new business models. And with the growth of these online and mobile commerce complementing brick-and-mortar retail, the shopping behavior has undergone a rapid transformation. And this necessitates retailers to think of ways to reap rewards from this retail convergence. To elaborate on the crucial role of technology in retail, we have a great panel of specialists who are going to decode the challenges of a new retail landscape where customers are often more connected and more informed than shop floor staff. I'm going to get Mark Thompson back in the chair next to me and let him field it from there. Mark?
Perfect. So we have a panel of about 10 guests, so they know who they are. So if they could make their way to the panel table, and then we'll make a start on the discussion. Welcome back. Look at that, almost every chair filled. Everyone looking enthusiastic, because of course this is the most important session of the day. This is the one that actually counts for us all.
So far he said that 3 times today.
Yeah, we'll start with that.
Right, so once again, since we've got a new panel over here and some faces that we haven't seen all day, I'm going to go around and get each of you to introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about why you're on this panel with us.
Hi, my name is Praveen. I am the Chief Technologist with Wipro. Very excited to be here. Technology by itself, I think, is a phenomenal disruption out there. I spend a lot of my time on crystal ball gazing, what's happening on technology in the next 2 to 5 years. I run a technology innovation center for Wipro, and a lot of what I'll be talking today are things that we've built and deployed at the edge. So we've looked at a lot of future of industries. Future of retail is something that we've worked on, and I'll be happy to share some of my experience of what we've done there and how do we see it going forward in the next 2 to 5 years. Thank you.
How good is your crystal ball?
It's as good as it can be.
What's your hit rate so far?
A lot of it is 2010, we spoke of cloud computing, analytics, mobile, and social. I think we've all deployed that today. A lot of us are using it.
That's fascinating, which leads me to one very important question. Who's going to win the rugby?
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Sam Al-Faruqi. I'm the Vice President of IT Strategy and Governance from Altaya Group. And my role there is to act as the linchpin between the retail business and technology. That includes strategy, innovation, that includes realizing the retail business's ambitions. Obviously, the entire group, I don't think, need a huge amount of introduction, but in automotive, retail, luxury, fashion, hospitality, we cover many segments. And so it's a quite exciting place to be able to translate the business demand into solutions, working internally and with our partners in the industry.
Hi guys, my name is Sumit Batla. I am CIO and Head of Innovation for Alphathem Group. And I think Alphathem doesn't need introduction as well. So similar like Altair Group, we are conglomerate. I manages around 1,000 stores and 19 geographies under Alphathem. Why I'm here, good questions. I think the theme is obviously connect, share and evolve. And I'm here to connect with each one of you, share my experience and how we can evolve together, in the right spirit in the retail industries. That's why I'm here.
Good afternoon. My name is Sharbel Sarkis. I'm a sector lead at Google. I look after a few industries here in the region, in Middle East and North Africa, including retail, e-commerce, telecom, and technology. I'm very excited to be here. I think in retail, we're in the middle of a big transformation that has been enabled by digital and technology. And if you look at the retail cycle over the last 200 years, it seems that there is a 50-year retail cycle. And I think now we're in the kind of e-commerce or m-commerce cycle of that industry. I think it's pretty interesting to look at the biggest trends that are happening globally and where the industry overall is heading in the next 5 years, and try to identify what are the real opportunities and challenges that we're facing in this region and try to capitalize on that.
Good afternoon for everyone. Uluk Bek from awork.com, e-commerce industry. Basically, I'm here today to understand where technology is moving because our company is fully integrated for technology because whatever we are doing and whatever we are receiving the sales, overall businesses depend only on technology. So that's why today whatever will happen here, it will be very interesting for us because to understand where technology is moving and are we following or behind of it or we are ahead, something to understand. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Sharif Rizwan. I'm CEO and founder of an online shopping portal called alshop.com. We do something similar to what my friend from our work does, but we've been doing it for the past 7 years. We have been established as a B2C shopping portal and catering to the MENA region for 7 years, and we also have something unique to our model, which is we're a bootstrap model, which means we have self-funded it and not opened up to the venture capitalists and so on till date. Of course, in the 7 years of our journey, we have sort of picked up on many trends of how e-commerce has evolved, because we kind of believe that we have been one of the first guys to have ventured into this space many years before, and we have potentially seen some very interesting trends, and we'll be happy to share that over here if certain points revolve around that. Of course, e-commerce has been trending and growing tremendously, so it is pretty exciting for us as an e-commerce in general, for everybody in that, as well as for the retail offline players as well. And a lot of people have been getting onto the e-commerce bandwagon in the recent years. So look forward to a good 1.5 hours of talk. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Abdul Qadir. I work for LSH Holding Company. We're based on Kuwaiti company. We are in retail in the region, about 500 to 550 shops across the region, which is food, fashion, which is apparel and sports. I work as an regional IT director for them. This is the second year in a row I'm attending this conference. It's been very good so far. I mean, it's a lot of take home. But since morning, we've been hearing about IT and technology, and I think we should talk about business now, okay? Because everybody is talking about only the technology, and I think, we've been, whatever I want to say, it's everybody said, So I think I should talk about something about business, how to make profit, Is that okay? Thank you.
I suspect that's the one thing everyone really wants to hear about.
I'm Ruan. I'm the CTO of the luxurycloset.com. Basically, what we are doing is we are reselling of used and brand new luxury items. It's a pretty interesting business model of marketplace and a kind of a luxury market. As compared to normal general e-commerce, we are not doing with very high volume, but with high value. I have been in the e-commerce industry for last few years, coming from Singapore, like group buying businesses. So fairly have a kind of a good experience in the e-commerce trends and what is going well and what is not going well here. I'm pretty new to Dubai ecosystem, and two things that makes me to come here and the e-commerce market is like, one thing is e-commerce and the other one is the startups. So I'm too much biased towards startups and e-commerce, so probably we can have a kind of a good discussion about those things, and because so many e-commerce startups are coming to the market.
Hi everybody, I'm Vic Bagaria. I'm the founder and CEO of Savannah Data Systems. We are a 13-year young company empowering retailers since the last 13 years to operationalize their brick-and-mortar facilities. We have several different vertical solutions like people counting, people tracking, all of those that can help you to answer your KPIs. So we've been the first one to start this practice in the UAE. Today we have close to about 90% market share in the region, with most of the prominent retailers using a solution. Prior to that, I have actually had a grassroots training in retail operations as a running family business of retail stores in Dubai. So been brought up in Dubai, seen retail from the grassroots to where it is today. It's interesting to be here among all you guys to learn. I'm here to listen more and observe and see what I can take back and come back and offer to the industry. So it's always exciting to be in MRF. This is probably my 7th, 5th or 6th year. I've been associated with Retail ME for a very long time. So I'm looking forward to our next 1 hour.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Shankar from Bangalore, India, representing Quicksilver Solutions. We are a proponent of prepaid and gift cards. I wouldn't exaggerate if I tell you that 9 out of every 10 gift cards sold in India are powered by us. We are a technology service provider, 6-year-old company, and we've recently entered this market, the Middle East. One of our biggest customers is sitting right opposite me, Sumit of Alphatem. We also have customer relationships with companies like Sharaf DG, the Lulu Group, ClearTrip UAE, which is a travel portal, and well, we're here seriously to do business, and we hope to get a chance to develop this market in the whole prepaid and gift card industry like we have in India. We've kind of built the ecosystem for this in this space in India, and we intend to give it our very best shot to do the same in this country.
Hi, my name is Ashish Punjabi from Jackie's. We are a group that is in various businesses, including retail, and of course we sell technology as well, which is, I guess, why I'm here as well. The last presentation spoke a little bit about something else I'm quite passionate about, which is 3D printing, which is a business I'm in as well. And let's see how the conversation goes and if we touch up on that as well.
Hi, I'm Arvind. I represent Vincolum. I run the Middle East and Africa operations for them. Vincolum, as you can see on top, enabling multi-channel retailing. We live the credo, what MRF is all about: connect, share, evolve. We connect customers with retailers. We find ways of doing that. We connect customers to online world, your retailers to online world, O2O. We work with marketplaces across the world to build an ecosystem for them, whereby their customers, their partners, their retailers, they all exist together and work profitably. As of today, we are present in almost every part of the world. We have, I would say, roughly about 200,000 plus retailers in our ecosystem through the various marketplaces we work with. And we are here for last 1 year, but in last 1 year, we have had a very good journey, and we are growing very rapidly. And in the ecosystem of e-commerce, we build the entire value chain for the market to exist profitably. That's what we do.
Hello, my name is Beatriz Carrera. I work for SAP, and I represent the retail industry. So my job is to help our customers run better, as we like to say. And in our cases, right now we're seeing, and Google also mentioned that, the big transformation going on in retail, and we want to help our customers to embark on that journey. And we are a data company, basically. So it's all about data and understanding your customers and getting meaningful information about all the data that we are collecting on all these various channels, social media, and everywhere where we are active. Get meaningful information out of that to better communicate with your customers. That's what we want to do.
Excellent. Well, thank you everyone for the introductions. There's a few questions being raised and a few topics people would like to talk about, so I've taken those notes down and we'll certainly try and cover as many of those as possible. You've all received a number of questions that we're going to talk about as part of the session, but I'm quite happy to jumble that up and to have the conversation flow as much as people want it to in the right directions, because people will want to explore certain areas and leave others behind. The first area we're going to cover is actually, we're almost doing it backwards, if you like. We're going to cover the furthest part of the future first, because I think it's important to have a view as to what are you actually trying to achieve. There's a statement when you build strategies that if you don't know where you're going, then it doesn't matter which road you take. And we all know of projects, whether they are marketing projects, IT projects, that have headed in certain directions without a real goal or vision, just simply because, oh, it looks like an interesting project. The sales guy said it might do this for us. The technology was quite new, let's use that. And actually, that's not going to help us as an overall business. And that vision has to start at the very top of the organization. And increasingly, IT is being pushed down the organization. We're seeing IT coming off the C list, and I think that's dangerous. But maybe that's because everybody in the organization now touches IT and touches technology, that we don't necessarily need the head of IT sitting on the board. And that's certainly something we can talk about over the next hour or so. But to help give us a vision of what that future might look like, some of the technologies that might be involved in it, things like robotics, things like drones, artificial intelligence. So touching, I guess, the leading or the bleeding edge of technology, I'd like to hand over for a short presentation to Praveen from Wipro. Thank you.
Okay, so a couple of things. One interesting aspect, and what Abdul Qadir mentioned is music to my ears. I've been working on innovation for the last 7 years, and when business starts talking technology, I think that's music to our ears, right? And let me go ahead. What I'll do is, we've seen a lot of change in the business world. We've seen a lot of technology changes happening. We've seen how technology itself has evolved over the last few years. We've seen and discussed already consumer behavior. Just this morning, we set up the stall outside, and my colleague went and tried to touch the screen and start moving it around. That's the behavioral changes we're seeing. I mean, by default, everything is interactive. Any surface can be interactive. Any surface can be touched and moved around. And that's the basic underlying behavior that we're seeing in consumers today, right? Now, this is an area, the areas marked in yellow are areas where we've been doing a lot of our research currently on. I will spend some time on the solutions that we've built and deployed in each of these areas as we go along. But we've looked at a spectrum from 10 years all the way back to here now. And as you saw the exponential curve of technology evolving, a lot of what we're talking of 2 years, probably somebody somewhere out there is already doing it today, deploying it in production, right? And that's the biggest change and drive that we're seeing. What I'll do, this is a very, this is one slide which really excites us a lot, because what we said, technology itself is getting deployed in runtime today. What you're seeing here are real numbers, and we have quantified a lot of those impacts right here, whether it is 100% improvement on resolution at help desk, whether it's about the productivity improvement in the back office processes. All these are centered around specific algorithmic bots running at the back end, right? I'll cover more about it, but I just want to, from a 36 to 2 deployment hours for auto release for a global leading retailer. I think this is where a lot of us are talking about agility, quick delivery, integrated multi-channel environments, right? And a lot of these solutions that customers are looking for will enable these functionalities as we go along. These are the 5 key areas of technology trend. What you saw on the earlier slide, we've sort of summarized that, and we believe these are the 5 technologies in the next 2 to 5 years will have a huge impact on how a lot of us will either buy, sell, manage, or govern, right? Cognitive, I think the artificial intelligence space has evolved phenomenally in the last 8 months. Last year, this time, we were talking about semantic search, we were talking about more efficient search. Today, we're talking of deployed environments, right? When I say cognitive, I'm talking about natural language based. So in the past, the expectation was I understand read manuals, understand the machine, and start engaging and operating with it. Digital natives today, if they're standing for the machine and the machine does not recognize, understand, or respond to what he wants to do, they just move on, right? Simplification of technology at the point of consumption at the edge, I think is becoming a mantra today. We're seeing a lot of that happening today. Cognitive is going to enable that, hyper-personalization, getting data from multiple sources, creating a knowledge virtual environment using ontology environments, business rules basically, the rules that run and govern and execute your business today. Can I put that into a virtual environment, create data environments around that, and allow those to make decisions for me rather than body 98 degrees centigrade sitting there and managing and operating it. That's the thinking out here. Zero human machine interfaces is a huge area we've looked at, simplifying. So I can tell you a couple of things. I can look at how I want to understand the specification of a particular tablet or mobile phone I want to buy. You can do it using a chatbot. You can see it out there today in the stall where you can actually type questions on a chat environment. The algorithm at the back end will go ahead and get data points for you, will allow you to compare those products and answer all your queries there, right? The other area is a lot of us, I know I used to sell peripherals and computers in 96, 97, right across the computer street in Dubai. Our biggest problem was when you open a box, the value goes down to 0, nobody buys it after that, right? So when we look at the human-machine interfaces, we're looking at how you can, without opening a box, understand how the particular electronic gadget, printer, desktop operates. You take it home, install it, the artificial intelligence robo comes on your smartphone, guides you how to actually open the box, install it, configure it. If you do not get the solution there, you can have an expert assist coming on a smartphone, taking control of the entire remote site where you're trying to install it and guide you in real time. And these are all bot-centered, extreme collaboration-centered technologies we're talking about. Computer vision, again, when I look at using frugal innovation, disruptive innovation, where you bring down the cost to consumer, great technologies, use security surveillance cameras and do stuff like trajectory, customer trajectory, planogram compliance, looking at stock out detection. A lot of these things can be done, and this can be done by machines. It can be done by a smartphone or a robot just walking around in the store out there. We also looked at some of these things in the warehouse management, where you can go ahead and the first in, first out thinking, typically what goes as one of the largest challenges we've seen in the warehouse. You can address a lot of those using machine visioning techniques, which can analyze these things in real time and allow you to make decisions right there. I think devices is again huge, whether it's headgears, whether it is wearables, future will be injectables, but there's a huge disruption. I'll show you how, using retail sense, using a headgear, you can actually shift e-commerce to a completely virtual reality environment. and you can shop. You can actually shop using a headgear, a $10 headgear, which can allow you to buy almost everything that you can buy in the digital world, but with a physical interaction. A little abstract, but I'll show you what it is as we go along. A couple of other stuff. Software-defined everything is another area where we believe smart vending machines are coming and getting more real. They're getting more personalized. They're getting a lot more governance getting done at the software layer. That's an area of focus. Second Age of Machines. How many of you have read that book, Second Age of Machines? Right? It's an interesting book. But a lot of what we're talking about here largely drive automation. And has anybody seen the movie called Her, H-E-R? Yeah. Right? Or Ex Machina? Yes. Right? Now, these are maybe about 2 years back, they were sci-fi, right? Steven Spielberg made a good visualization, imagination of what it is. I think a lot of those are getting real here, right? So when I look at the growth happening, this is 7 times growth in IP development. This, to the fact that you can do 20 million pages, 200 million pages in real time and give data back before the customer even clicks the final decision that he wants to make. And these are all real stories out there. Looking at connected world, I think intelligent drones, computer vision. I'm not going to go into details of these, but industrial applications is what I'll probably go ahead and cover. Zero user interface, again, we spoke of simplification. Now, how do you look at, if you look at something like the productivity improvement, and you save a lot in the operational aspects of the store, of the warehouse, of the business operations, and you can look at that getting reinvested into the edge and engaging customers differently out here, right? But you're talking about agile enterprises, we're talking about digital experiences, we're talking about collaborative, continuous deployment, a little more on the IT side when I took off the core there, but those are what will enable us to drive a lot more agility at the edge. If you look at 200% growth in virtual reality, I think a lot of us today, I was talking to somebody this morning, and the focus out here is a lot about consumer-grade technologies. It is not about investing millions and billions of dirhams on something and then waiting for 3 years to turn around. You start small, you scale big. It's in the fail fast, succeed early environments that you can go ahead and drive a lot of these things. One experience that we built for a large retail store using Wipro site, primarily it's a machine visioning system which allows you to detect the shelf space using various algorithms, looks at mapping the planogram, doing stockout detection. You can actually tell what's the shelf-facing products on the stock. It can allow to calculate the shelf space. You can do this using a robo walking out there. Next slide, I'll show you that. Oh, it's not here, okay. And then you can also use a smartphone and just point it at the shelf and it'll give you exact KPIs that you want to measure. It'll alert the person on the staff on the ground telling him that these products are not in place, the offers are not aligned. You can do all that in imagine if you can do that in real time without having to go back either to a central system or a data environments right there. These are real solutions today, right? Then the other part, so here again, what you're seeing here is any surface being interactive. On the floor, I can go ahead and do a product positioning. I can go ahead and select categories I want, and these environments can be transferred onto a smartphone using a simple digital interface. It can give me in-store navigation. It can help me compare products. You can have this at a metro station. You can have this at a mall and engage customers completely disruptively, right? We've seen huge interest, especially when it comes to digital customer. Digital natives love these environments. And anybody who's born when Amazon was born, today, they think completely different, right? And how do you address that audience? I'll share something on a consultative buying part. A couple of years back, about 2 years back, we had a large retailer who walked in and he said, we're covered, we are safe. We don't really worry about too much of technology today, right? That this segment was very niche for them. But when we walked through the entire innovation cycle and showed them what are the potential possibilities out there, they came back and said that, we worry today because we are okay with our current customer base, but the next generation today do not engage with us, right? And that opened up the eyes. They said in the next 10 years, if we do not address a segment, we're going to have tough time, right? And that's the part there. You can see the Oculus Rift, somebody spoke about it. Out there in the booth, you can actually see a virtual reality on a Google Cardboard where you can go and buy grocery shopping. Somebody in the morning was talking about grocery shopping out here. You can, based on, and these are all natural interfaces. You behave the way I'm behaving, talking to you like a human being today. And you can do transactions. I can look at a product, add it to my shopping cart. I can go look at something else, do a cash out delivery or cash payment checkout or card payment checkout. All can be done using gestures the way you do normal transactions, right? And that is the power. That is the most exciting part of technology that we're seeing today out here. I think I spoke of innovation lab as a service. So largely, Wipro is a large technology system integrator. None of these solutions are sold as solutions. You define the problem. We can build our technologies, our assets, our expertise. A lot of expertise movement today is in a T-shaped competency. We don't have a lot of intersections of all the technologies that I spoke of, the SMAC plus the layer that I spoke of, are what are going to get business disruptions right there. Right? So open innovations where you get the academia involved for a little more futuristic research on algorithms, building machine learning environments, building natural language interfaces, to working with the startup ecosystem, which I think is another huge innovation happening out there in terms of how they build things out, and then large enterprises like Wipro, we can come together, build a lot of unsolved problems today in the industry front can be actually processed, automated, and driven. You can put sensors anywhere, you can bring the IoT thinking anywhere, you can collect data, process data, transfer data, all of them in real time without really worrying about costs. And that's what technology means today for us from a consumer-grade technology area. So a lot of what we do is using a gaming environment at home. You can use it to sort of blend physical and virtual worlds. That's about what I wanted to cover.
Fantastic, thank you very much.
I know we're very fast, but I think I can take questions.
It was very fast. It made us all concentrate though, which is a good thing. It covered a lot of areas, so I'll try and recap some of them, some of the bits of technology that hit me during that session. You talked about drones, 3D printing, Internet of Things, virtual reality and augmented reality, robots, consumer versus business devices or systems and solutions, gesture-based selection and interfaces. And I think all of those will have some part in the future of retail. And the nice thing is, there are so many of these future technologies that actually we can choose the mix of those that are appropriate for our different businesses. I mean, in particular, a lot of the businesses in this region are actually made up of multiple different retail organizations. So it's not just one retailer, it's actually sports retailers plus food retailers plus fashion retailers, etc. And different technologies might work for different ones. We also started that session by talking about 2020. And obviously that's in the future. Scarily, however, it's not that far in the future. It's only 5 years in the future. So we should really be starting to have that vision now in our retail businesses. And what I want the group to consider first of all is, how do we build that vision? Do we build that internally? Do we do our own work by looking outside at other retailers and thinking, what are they doing that's right, and do that? Do we talk to technology companies? Do we talk to consultants? Are we still using consultants for that type of area? So I'll open it up to the floor. I mean, Charbel, you work for Google. What's your view on that?
Sure. I think the first part of setting a vision for the future is to understand what's going on in the world. And if we talk about an age of a transformative age for retail, we need to look at the different themes that are conditioning the space or will be conditioning the space for the next 5 years. So what are they at a very high level? We're seeing 3 big themes. The first one is around e-commerce. If you look at the globe today, around 7.3% of total retail is happening online. In the US, it's around 7.3%, but in Asia, we crossed the 10% mark. In China, we're at 16% today, from 4% 5 years ago. What's happening is that, especially in economies that are growing very fast from an economic point of view, case in point China, which added 200 million middle-class citizens or people from 2001 to 2011. 200 million. The retail infrastructure couldn't scale that fast to accommodate people's need. Luckily, e-commerce was there, and players in China managed to solve all the issues in the ecosystem, so the e-commerce industry was able to ramp up very quickly and created basically a new retail market that is mostly based on e-commerce and not on traditional retail. So if we think about the world from this lens, and we consider especially markets that are undergoing massive economic development, we need to think, and at the same time, there is an underdeveloped retail infrastructure. The role of e-commerce is completely disproportionate to the retail industry. Projections for China is that in 2018, 30% of commerce is going to be done, of retail commerce is going to be done online, right? And China is one example. Look at so many other markets in the world, including our region, where retail is underdeveloped and there is economic development happening, middle class is emerging, and what's the role of e-commerce in that, especially with the emergence of smartphone. And if you look at China again, it's really interesting to see how the increase in the number of digital shoppers mirrored the increase of smartphone holders. And our region is a smartphone-based region, right? In parts of this region, like North Africa, many people are getting connected to the internet for the first time through a smartphone. And in the Gulf, we have the highest rate of smartphone penetration in the world. So smartphone is gonna also play a key role in continuing this or accelerating the shift of retail sales to e-commerce. The second part is around business models and disruption of business models. And this disruption is not only happening at a technology level. It's happening at an overall model level with, especially with e-commerce, brands today are able to go direct to consumers in much more impactful ways that it used to be the case years ago. If you look at the US, 14% of the total e-commerce sales is generated by brands. And if you take some interesting cases in the world, like Xiaomi in China, they built a $45 billion company, the fourth largest handset manufacturers in the world, on the back of direct sale to consumer online, right? So brands today have the opportunity, especially through e-commerce, to talk directly and to sell directly to consumers. The second disruption in the business model is around monetization models. Most of our retail businesses here are built around transaction-based, right, models. But with e-commerce, there are more monetization models that are emerging. Target, for example, in the US, have introduced subscription-based model for recurring household items, right? That is possible by when you get to know intimately your customer and possible mostly online, right? So monetization models are also changing. And the third disruption in business models is around technology, of course. And I think we all captured all the different trends that are happening in technology today, from virtual reality to Internet of Things, to 3D printing, to driverless cars, etc. I think if we just take one example, 3D printing, just imagine a world where online retailers, right, would have 3D printing facilities and the impact that this will have on the logistical value chain, right? They don't need to get products anymore. They need to get raw material, which is a completely different equation. And imagine a situation where 3D printing is available in the hands of consumers. And then what do retailers and brands sell? Do they sell design? Do they sell lifestyle? Or what do they exactly sell, right? And all of these are things, are themes that are not very distant in the future. Technologies are there. Now, getting them to consumers and to businesses is what we're going to see in the next 5 years. The last point I want to talk about in terms of the world in 2020 is kind of this merger between the offline and the digital world. We can't talk about retailer in 5 years from now with talking about stores and talking about online presence. This word is going to emerge, right? Starting by digitization of inventory, right? And at Google also work with retailers basically that we provide them an ability to show users whether a specific type of inventory is available in which store, right, through Google search, for example. And it's available now in certain markets in the world, to the walk-in experience of users, and through beacons in terms of getting to know who users are and understand their history of purchase online and offline, and be able to come up with specific recommendations that are very important for them at this point in time. Through automating the entire experience in store, leveraging data on the consumers and leveraging a lot of robotics and kind of automation facilities to automate showrooms, for example, and dressing room, anticipating what users might be interested in, automating the process of getting goods and products to users, and changing colors and lighting through different types of mirrors in the store, to the entire checkout experience, where users are going to be able to pay through the likes of Android Pay or Apple Pay or other digital wallet solution, incorporating couponing and loyalty program and making the checkout process seamless. So I think these are the three big themes that we're saying, and we think this is how the world might look like in 5 years from now. So we need to get ready.
Excellent, very comprehensive, thank you. Sama, how does it work for you at Altair in terms, you've got many brands and different directions, obviously with a central core IT team. How do you help or drive that vision?
Well, firstly, I'd like to commend my colleagues for a great input and a great presentation, and Praveen in particular. I'd also like to introduce you to my friends from IBM for their IBM Watson as a competitor to your homes. But no, absolutely. One of the challenges, and picking up on the themes, is integration, and particularly as a challenge, if you say the old legacy model and business model of retail is approaching and absorbing the digital domain, or vice versa, integration is what will make it happen. So you mentioned earlier about what is the future role of IT at the board or CIO, as Deloitte recently categorized it. The I in CIO is the Chief Integration Officer. It's critical to be the bridge to enable the ambition of the business. The business knows its customers best. It's not necessarily for IT or technologists per se to second guess that, but rather enable that integration. And there are a set of key skills that never go away. They're consistent, even if as the business model changes, is that your core proposition of your technology backbone will always be there. And we've seen this before as a cycle within the industry, if you take the longer term view over the last 10 or 20 years. I'm sure we all remember the dot-com boom, or maybe I'm showing my age. But we went through a similar cycle then as well. I mean, okay, I was a youngster then, of course. But then at that time, for example, I was working in investment banking in the UK, in a very exciting time, and a big push to put portfolios online and reach out to the customers through new channels at that time. And that discipline still required your core backbone to be accurate. And whilst the glamour and the investment went into the front end on the dot-com banking side of things, the core banking engines also required investment. And those companies who have survived and prospered and offered clients a key proposition have been those who are able to take the core legacy, in inverted commas, along on the digital journey. And part of that, or a key aspect of that, is understanding the level of integration required. Because the old world, if you like, has never gone away. And it would be no surprise to find banking organizations today still running mainframe systems and so on and so forth, because they're the backbones. They're what can enable connections. So I want to touch upon that. So the other theme I think is clearly emerging is the term multi-channel has been mentioned a few times. And I'd like to challenge that slightly in terms of, in the near future, if not already now, there is no multi-channel concept. The multi-channel implies that there's more than one, when actually it's omni-channel. That's what we should be talking about. There's only one route to market. The customer is not discriminating. Praveen mentioned digital natives, and absolutely, they don't distinguish between what channel and this channel. And if your internal proposition is, I have a store and I have an online, no. There has to be a single view of the customer, a seamless experience, as touched upon earlier, that will enable and integrate. So we talk about data is the new oil. Oil is the engine that fires this for the next 20 or 30 years before we move on to an entirely different paradigm. But until that point, that is absolutely critical to get that point across, that there's only one channel to market, and our customers expect to engage accordingly. So they're not going to think about, do I go into the store, do I return online, do I click and collect? They're just going to expect an experience. And if you're not in a position to approach that from a customer lens, then you're at severe disadvantage. So to answer your point, how are we thinking about the problem? It is from the perspective of the customer, how they engage. How do we develop and capture all the data points around that life cycle and maintain that as an ongoing conversation? So it's omni-channel for them, it's omni-channel for us in terms of we are omnipresent through any channel that they choose to engage with. So that's the sort of strategic lenses by which the problem is being framed.
What seems to be interesting about the challenges of current retail is that if you're a traditional retailer, so a bricks and mortar retailer, then there's all the pressure to go online and to integrate the online piece. I don't see the same sorts of pressure if you're a pure play online retailer to go physical. And yet we are seeing that happening to some extent. So ASOS in the UK, you can now order from ASOS, but actually collect from a boot store in the UK. You can order online virtually any product from eBay and collect that from an Argos store in the UK. So we're starting to see some of these pure play online retailers almost take a physical presence, at least in terms of allowing customers to collect their products. I don't know if people want to talk about, are we seeing that from, so Ruan, what about luxury closet? How physical can you get?
As of now, we don't have any plans to go for kind of offshore outlets right now, but we keep discussing about it because yes, we started as online. It helped us to grow very fast, and if we are doing the same amount of items in our warehouse and the same number of things, we will need like at least 10 outlets to sell all these things. But let's say, forget that I'm representing the luxurycloset.com. As a general human being in Dubai, what should I do in the weekends with my wife?
You really want us to answer that?
So, like, I was thinking, like, okay, what should I do? Like, yes, I can let her buy online shopping, and she has tens of things to buy online. Yes.
So shopping is a leisure pastime.
It is in the modern world. They do like at least shopping, window shopping, and all these things. So I think even though I'm representing the e-commerce, we still need a kind of good existence of shopping malls, offline things. We are competing each other. Online and offline, we are competing each other. But both of these things should exist in the market. And of course, representing the technology side, I love that the e-commerce market goes up. Mm-hmm. Coming from the numbers from guys, like if it is 7%, yes, we can grow up. Our potential market is too high. So we need offline things as well. It gives a lot of good brand awareness.
So for you, vision is growing from 7% to 10%, etc.
I like if it goes to like 50%. It will happen.
That would be a big
in the region, we're less than 2%, by the way, in our region.
Can I respond to that?
Yes, please do.
Let's take a couple of steps back, I think. And I don't like the term omni-channel, and I'm going to dispute that. For me, it's retailing. And let's look at retail in the region. to begin with, and where e-commerce has succeeded in other parts of the world. E-commerce succeeded in the US and in Europe, in those parts of the world initially. And if you look at the retail market over there, the stores were shut on Sundays, they shut at 8 o'clock on weekdays, and whenever you're off work, the stores were shut. So you did not have access to a store.
We call that France.
Yeah. So you did not have access to a store when you wanted to shop. Take the scenario in this region. We're open till 10 o'clock on weekdays, midnight on weekends, 1 a.m. Eid comes around, we open 24 hours. It's a completely different landscape. Whenever the customer's free, we're open. That's number one. Number two, and I'll take the Indian example. If you look at Flipkart, Flipkart has succeeded because their biggest customer bases are in the secondary and third tier cities, not in the first tier cities, because there is no access to product or retailers over there. The retail space was not there, and you saw a lot of people moving into that. Take the example in this region, we've seen malls everywhere. It has opened out and it has mushroomed in every part of the region. There is no secondary city that does not have a mall over here. And you will literally find anything you need. We've got the hypermarkets pumping out goods everywhere as well. So we have got a lot more access to the product. We've got the stores open when we need them. Now the conversation is, how do we improve the buying experience? And I think, going to Abdul Qadir's point, let's talk business. We can use that technology to make things a lot more efficient. We heard the example of Jumbo earlier. How do we get the customer in the store and out of the store quicker using technology? That's the key to any retailer and to any customer. He does not want to spend more time in the store than he has to. We heard about Android Pay or Google Pay or Apple Pay. It isn't in this region, but when it comes in, I've heard stories from the US now where someone says, I tried using an Android Pay device in one store, and they asked me to sign a receipt. In another store, they said, enter a PIN code. In the third store, that was it, and I walked out. Because the retailer system was set up in different ways in each of these 3 different stores. Those are the challenges we need to talk about at the retail end. Now, in the online space, again, and I see it as retailing again, is the moment we say omni-channel, we distinguish between e-commerce and we distinguish between retail stores. As far as I'm concerned, it should be treated as one, and we call it retailing, irrespective of where it happens. As a retailer, you pay to be in a shopping mall because that's where your customers are. As a retailer, you're online because that's where your customers are. So it's the same philosophy and it's the same principle that follows all the way through there. At the other end, if we look at it, retail stores are assets that carry inventory. As a retailer, irrespective of where the order comes from, whether it's a customer walking in the store or a customer placing an order online, you should be in a position to take that store, take the inventory from there, and ship it out from the closest store to the customer and cut down on that delivery time. We're talking about the last mile problem over here. Why do we have a separate inventory location for online sales? Why doesn't the store get the credit for online sales if they're going to do the shipping from there? These are the questions that we need to look at. I mean, these are fundamental business questions, and I don't think retailing has changed. Our mindset has to evolve to understand how do we take in these concepts and adapt to the day with it.
I'd 100% agree with you. I think there is a mindset shift that is required. Your point about why are stores not rewarded for the online sales so that the staff effectively can push customers to? Because why should a store stock every single one of your products? It probably can't. So why don't we make the stores simply the experience center and have whatever technology is required to allow the customer to know what is available to maybe touch and feel and taste or whatever they can with some of it, but the rest of it they can order online. And you're absolutely right to have visibility of what is available, where it's available. And I think one of the challenges we're certainly seeing today, and it's quoted a number of times today and in previous meetings, is what we would call delivery, but not necessarily delivery to home, simply the ability to get your products to your customers as fast as possible, wherever they want them. It might be at home, it might be to collect from a store, it might be from lockers, but it's that delivery piece. And I think retailers throughout the world are being challenged now by Amazon, because if you're in a number of US cities, and if you're in the UK, you can now get, with Amazon, you can get same-day delivery in the UK, and if you're in London, you get 1 hour delivery on Amazon.
But you've also seen Amazon open up stores.
And Amazon is also opening up stores,
and
taking some old Radio Shack
and they're putting in mailboxes in places and saying, this is the pin code, pick it up from there, this is the box it's in.
The lockers, what they're trying to do is they're trying to get as physical, as close to the customer as possible. They've bought technology that helps them predict what you're going to buy before you've even bought it. And what they're doing with that is they're taking products from their central distribution centers and they're already pushing them out to more local warehouses, because the likelihood of you buying, they know, has increased. So they're getting it closer, the product closer to the customer, so they can live up to that promise. Now, how do traditional retailers meet that particular challenge? Are they having to transform their business? Are they having to set up dedicated warehouses for online with picking? Because online picking is different from picking for stores. Stores, you tend to pick from the warehouse, put into a roll cage, probably in bulk, and that goes off to a store. If I'm picking for a customer order that they've done online, I'm probably picking individual products. And I might want to set up my warehouse quite differently to cope with both of those. So I don't know what experience some of our online colleagues have got. Sheriff?
I mean, there's a few things around how, let's get to the picking and the logistics part of it. But a few days before, we were having a conversation with some friends, and it sort of concluded with the Middle East being a place where you trip and fall, you're in a mall. You know, that's how many retail outlets that thrives in this part of the world. But sadly, this region, in terms of e-commerce, has always been trailing back when compared to the US or to Asia, when compared to markets like China, India. You have in China Alibaba, doing in a day where they clocked sales combined together of Amazon and eBay. Now that's the size of the e-commerce market in China, and then you have in India, which a few companies in the recent past, in about 3-4 years, have completely disrupted the entire retail space across India. I mean, in the likes of Flipkart, Myntra, Snapdeal, and all of these guys. So sadly, again, coming back to the Middle East, we have been trailing back in the e-commerce space, but we have been growing rapidly as well. And this is where, I mean, in the next 5 years, about what you were asking about how things would look in 2020, I think there's a sea of change that is going to come in the retail space, and how companies operate and look at different new channels of revenue that brings into their business model itself. We have seen that kind of an change being absorbed by the brands from the manufacturer level to the distribution level to the last leg of the food chain, right? So how do we combat these rapid changes? Because as a company, as an e-commerce company, you have to evolve quite rapidly. You have to be, take change and induct it into the business model and keep moving. Something that usually comes up as a big challenge for us is the logistics, is the last mile. Because customers, again, coming back to the first statement that I made, you trip and fall, you get into a mall. It's people have so many choices here. By the time they get home, they are literally crossing a couple of malls. So if you're not able to get to the customer of what they've ordered, most likely within 2 to 3 days, you're pretty much going to lose that customer. And there has been companies which has been innovating on this space and trying to solve that problem, companies like Fetcher and Aramex and all of these guys. But again, it needs to be approached from many angles, I would say, from the government side, from distribution, from having companies that sort of mushrooms out and solves a new problem and so on. And that's where we'll have to take lessons from guys who've grown rapidly from markets like China and so on, where you have apps that literally tells you in real time when a product is moving from an e-commerce warehouse to the customer's location. And guys from different parts of Asia have taken those type of technology and spread it across into an open source, peer-to-peer people who anybody can just jump in and pick up and say, hey, you know what, I'm going to do this piece of the requirement. Even companies which are traditionally known for certain things have started evolving in being in getting involved in the e-commerce space and so on. Like something like Uber, who have recently decided to tie up with e-commerce companies to do their last mile deliveries, and also guys who wants to get their items collected back and so on can engage with Uber to do so and so on. So it's a mash of all. I would say if you look at 2020 for the Middle East in terms of retail, I would say it is going to be definitely a mash of many industries sort of piggybacking on each other to get their objectives fulfilled smartly and driven by technology, driven by easy technology that can be used by anybody and not just, you need not be a tech geek to sort of get involved. And this is where I think many new companies would also come in and make that experience and usability very, very accessible and easy.
Excellent.
In fact, there is a few examples I would like to give you.
Okay, just get a bit closer to the mic.
Okay. What you're talking about, last mile problem, as what Ashish also talked about. I'll give you a few examples because we work with a lot of companies across the world. In India, we are working with a marketplace where they have 18 million SKUs. And they have got a seller base of 50,000 plus. We have a solution deployed live as of today, whereby on a daily basis, the number of SKUs change in hundreds of thousands, okay, maybe sometimes in millions. The system parses it, keeps a golden copy, ensures that the customer who comes in, see, it's all about customer experience. Whatever technology we talk about, whatever future we talk about, what we're talking about today is how best can we give a good customer experience, right? Whether it's online, whether it's in the retail. So even when the customer goes online, customer wants to, whatever the customer wants to buy, customer wants to see it online on the spot, right? In the first search. Then wants it delivered immediately. We work with DHL in India. Now what DHL does is a very unique concept. DHL has tie-ups with Flipkart, Snapdeal, Namshi, ShopClues, all the marketplaces. We have a system whereby we have built a layer on DHL layer, all the orders which come in, and these orders run into millions sometimes. Remember the $1 billion day, just last week, right? We carried the parcels. Our system ensured that DHL delivered everything on time to the customer. Doesn't matter second tier city or a third tier city or a fourth tier city. These systems are not tomorrow. They are available today. And we are working with customers in different parts of the world where these are live and working. And these things are happening. Ultimately, customer experience, customer's ability to walk into a store, look at a solution, and then, or go online and buy, and then get it delivered. The entire value chain is being taken care of. How it is changing, what is changing tomorrow is the way the stores That's the way we look at a store today, being a center of buying experience. As you rightly said, it will change from being a center of a buying experience to a center of maybe a research, to a center of a value chain, where your warehouse, your goods are lying there, orders are coming in, they're getting picked up, getting delivered.
So a general change of the purpose, really, of a store.
Exactly.
It's no longer a transactional place.
No, it's not.
Just to add, I think another bigger challenge which a lot of Middle East retail companies, I feel it's a mistake that they do, is they don't look at the e-commerce as a business per se which can generate and sort of lead the way, right? Most of them don't, unfortunately. And that's like, I mean, I had an experience sometime before of a friend who's running a chain of retail stores, and he asked me, how do I set up, my own e-commerce, this thing. So I was just having a talk, and he said, okay, meet my IT head. He's the guy who's going to set up the web store, and he's going to, do the marketing campaigns. He's going to do everything. But at that moment, I just stopped him and I said, if it's going to be an IT guy who's going to set up your e-commerce, that's the worst way that you can look at, setting up your store. You're just going to head the wrong way, right? E-commerce store is to be looked at as if it's a new outlet that you're probably building, and you need to have the right wires connected at different data points to understand how these are captured and business decisions are made based on those inputs that you gather. And this is the typical fault that a lot of companies do in the Middle East, where e-commerce, online advertising, newsletter campaigns, etc. Okay, call the IT guy. But I think that's possibly why we are still trailing back as a region and not able to sort of leap the way get ahead of certain other regions also in terms of e-commerce innovation or establishment and whatnot.
So I think just to add to Sharif's point, I think I agree with you. I think one of the things that we struggle with online is to bring the whole experience. I sell televisions. People come in the store to see the picture quality of a television. How do I replicate that online? As a fashion retailer, you want to feel the fabric before you wear it. How do you replicate that online? I've seen one example where someone has done it well. It's a Dutch furniture retailer who on their website had it where you could find any piece of furniture, click on it, and he had an app, and you held it in the room you're in, press the button, and that sofa, the chair appeared in that room. And you sort of looked at it in an augmented reality fashion and said, this is how it looks in there.
Actually, that's the IKEA catalogue in Europe. And you're absolutely right. You use your iPad or tablet to scan the barcode next to the item, and you then, it's augmented reality, basically, and you see that sofa or that table in your living room or in your dining room. And that mix of technologies, I think, is very important. I was interested in the point you made, Sharif, about Uber coming in to do deliveries, and we are seeing some other interesting uses of technology, or if you like, crowdsourcing rather. For example, Field Agent. I don't know if anyone's heard of that company. So it's an online business, but imagine if you're Coca-Cola, then you work with your retailers and you negotiate space with your retailers, and you want the display to look just the way it's supposed to look, and you've got it 4 shelves high and three bottles wide, etc. And what tends to happen these days is you send your very expensive reps into the store to make sure that actually happens, and to police the planogram, if you like. So make sure the planogram is compliant. Well, Field Agent, what that does is it says anyone can be a field agent. As long as you've got a mobile phone, you just download the app. And you get loyalty points by doing tasks on Field Agent. And then what will happen is Field Agent knows my location. So it knows that I'm near a Tesco store. And it says, Mark, pop into that Tesco store and take a picture of the Coca-Cola or the Surf powder. And so I do that through the app, and automatically it sends that information to Coca-Cola. So now they are getting all of that information effectively free of charge. And all they have to do is give me a discount on Coca-Cola next time I buy Coca-Cola. So suddenly, Tesco doesn't have so many representatives from Coca-Cola or anyone going to their store to check. They simply have customers coming in who might also buy something. So these are different ways of looking at some of the jobs that are happening, not just in the retail bit itself, but also in the supply into retail. I don't know if people have seen other interesting ideas, ways of that. Yes, Amit?
I think it's a very interesting conversation. Future of 2020, and I would say 2030, I would say not even 2020 is very near. But it's very exciting and very scary. Let me give that picture as well. Social, we are becoming anti-social. We have the social media, but human behavior is becoming anti-social, and we all know that, right? We are talking about artificial intelligence, but the human intelligence is getting compromised because people don't want to remember anything. Google, thank you, Google, right? I'm worried about the next generation, what kind of jobs they will have and what kind of intelligence they will have, the skill set they will have. It will be more of technology driven, and that's why I said exciting, because I'm CIO, I'm technology, right? So, and thanks to these technology partners sitting around. So great future for us for sure, but I'm worried about the health of the individuals, health of our own next generation, which is getting compromised. Online gives us the convenience, but also makes us lazy as well at the same time. We don't want to put any effort. Now the brick walk is being replaced by the treadmill, at home, but where the fresh air is, it's all air conditioned. So those are some of the technology aspects. So thank you, Praveen, for giving us what we are working, or the technology companies are working, augmented reality and all that kind of stuff, but we are forgetting the complete experience of the human being as a human being. I fully agree with the Ashish point that most of the online companies in India are making money, but where the retail, brick and mortar doesn't have the reach, or where the logistics challenges are there. I feel, and it's my personal view, and that's what I had shared with Gartner and Forrester last week, that 60 to 70% of the e-commerce company in India, which are growing very fast, will die in the next 10 to 15 years. If that would be the commercial model, they will keep working on. And we all know that the kind of losses everybody is incurring, especially the online companies to acquire and their valuation system is completely different than the brick and mortar assets, digital asset sources. So it's a different challenges, and I agree with Sama on the point of the integration, which is absolutely a CIO's challenges all the time. We have been seen as a chief integration officer, chief innovation officer, at the same time, and the chief information officer. Business cases for the new technology is becoming very, very difficult. TCO is getting reduced. It was 5 to 7 years when we used to do it. And ERP implementation was 7 years TCO. It has been reduced to now 5 years. And next year, we are actually targeting Alphatem 3 years TCO for any ERP transformation, 9 to 12 months implementation time, but 3 years TCO. Or any new technology buying, only 6 months TCO. If that technology doesn't give us the payback within the 6 months, we don't want that technology. And that is a shift. Most of the CEOs in the morning were talking about technology, and I love that. NRF 10 years back, National Retail Federation, people who go there, was actually a retail federation, has become a technology forum now. MRF, it is turning to a technology forum very soon. We will have the less discussion on the challenges on the government regulatories and malls and all those. We'll have the more discussion on the technologies. And that's what Abdul had said, that, okay, when we'll talk about the profit and margins, when we'll talk about the gross margin calculation and how should we do it, how the logistic challenges has to be sorted out, we are talking about complete technology, sensor, these. Organization structure, brick and mortar, and who are going into the e-commerce. In every forum, I raise the point, if you do not understand the organization structure, the way you should structure the organization to support both the organizations. Obviously, I agree with Ashish again, retailing is retailing, but the way we do retailing is different in e-commerce versus the brick and mortar. right, where the brick and mortar is supported by the sales associate, and in e-commerce, our technology is our sales associate, right? So both are the different things, right? So we have to follow our business process re-engineering. Most of the people over here doesn't talk about the business process re-engineering. Everybody talking about automation. So it's very interesting, discussion so far. I feel at the same time, we are technology guys, technical companies sitting around. We need to think of about the future technologies, but taking care of the human beings as well, making sure that, okay, it is in the interest of the health of every individual. 6-year-old kids are getting, now obviously their glasses within the year, 6 years of the age, thanks to iPad and thanks to the TV, high resolution, TV and everything. We need to have that responsibility on our shoulder as well. The kind of technology we are designing, it should be human friendly as well. So that is the only point, that's what I'm scared of, that, what will happen.
Excellent, thank you.
To what he said.
I'll come straight on to you right now, because I think you're absolutely right. I think the human factor is very important. We shouldn't lose that, whether it's staff or customers, which brings me on to the next topic, which is actually all about loyalty, and does loyalty still exist in this new modern digital world? Is it based on cards?
That's exactly the question I've been asking for quite some time. You see, we say we live in the age of digital distraction. In India, and I'll give you a straight, fresh off the boat perspective, we live in the age of deal distraction, because the consumer is literally, he has a plethora of deals in front of him. None of these are geared to incite loyalty. All that they do is to give him instant gratification. The consumer has changed significantly. But the role of the physical retail, the offline retail, what is now fancifully called offline retail, we all grew up in offline retail. And I don't think there is ever going to be a substitute for that human interaction, because we are human beings at the end. However much technology can come out and help you to get where you want to get faster, you still require that human interaction. For example, in the logistics conclave a little earlier, they talked about return logistics. Now, who brings that stuff back? And when the consumer is displeased with a particular product, who does he contact? Does he contact a piece of technology, or does he use technology to contact a human being who ultimately gives him that decision? Now, see, our organization is today at the forefront of, I would say we are relevant to the present and yet future ready. For example, our entire business is about prepaid and gift cards. And this whole thing about gifting as a discipline, I would like to use the word discipline, it actually straddles the crossroads of social and commerce. It's all about, creating emotional connect, creating social interaction, promoting greater social interaction through gifting, which is after all a commercial activity, and ultimately is intended to drive, let us say, some business or some traffic to a retailer or an e-tailer, whoever is the participating retailer or retailer. So the point I'm making really is that today, when you look at technology, technology is merely an enabler. It is a means to an end. It is not an end in itself. And I think the sooner we all sort of recognize that, the better off we'll be,
And will that be, in terms of loyalty, gift cards, prepaid cards, will that be digitized eventually?
It is. You'd be surprised, actually. I mean, India is a very, very fast-moving market. Smartphone penetration, we spoke about a little earlier, is huge. There are digs being taken at our country, but, well, some of these facts have to be faced. There are actually, every human being there typically tends to carry 2 phones. Okay, it's getting there, if not already there. Urban India, as well as Tier 2 and Tier 3, the penetration of smartphones is huge. To take off on what Ashish also said, the way Flipkart has grown is because of their Tier 2 and Tier 3 servicing capability. Amazon is also a customer of ours. Both Flipkart and Amazon and Snapdeal are customers of ours. So we get to see, some of the trends, which I can, at a broad level, I can share some of those trends. The online retailers actually have created physical gift cards to be placed at physical retail stores. So we do a lot of distribution of gift cards in non-traditional distribution spaces, like you would typically find in a Tesco or in any of the typical retail stores. But if you look at the mix, about 70% of gift cards sold from the e-commerce retailers are still e-gift cards, electronic gift cards. And it's a fast-growing percentage, which is close to 30 now, where physical gift cards are coming into play. So there's a certain, shall we say, convergence taking place. If you look at physical retailers, India is a country of great logistical challenges. We're finding that the largest consumers of gift cards are actually preferring to buy e-gift cards from physical retailers because physical retailers have both, and it is easier to reach an e-gift card to a consumer sitting far away without having to go through the hassle of logistics. So it's really quite interesting. And I will, to answer to your point about loyalty, I mean, I don't think I need put too fine a point on it, but prepaid is your best form of loyalty. It's only when a consumer loves you that he will prepay. Otherwise, why would he?
Can I add one point on the loyalty front? I think regardless of how many items or the share of our retail that is being sold online, there is a reality that the decision-making on what to buy is shifting online. Whether the customer is buying the item in store or online. If I just, to give an example, in the mobile phone industry, in Saudi and the UAE, I think between 50 and 60% of consumers who bought an item online research online. So those who bought offline researched online in order to make this purchase. 50 to 60%. So the decision has shifted online, and mobile is adding another complexity because users aren't now going to research. They are connected all the time, and there is this micro moment philosophy of smartphone where users' connections are through micro moment, used to do different things, including watching, finding, knowing, and purchasing, which is creating a lot of disruption on how retailers can communicate and convince users on purchasing their items. To give a few stats here, when users go online on smartphone to research and buy a product, so those who researched a product on a smartphone, only 18% of them know exactly which brand they want to know before starting this research on their smartphone. Now, 69% of those who researched on their smartphone ended up buying a product or a brand that they haven't considered before because it was there at the time when they needed it. And this is adding a lot of complexity to loyalty, right? So you run your loyalty program on the side, but there is also the issue of communication with users in a very fragmented micro moment of engagement through smartphone, where I think retailers should really and kind of focus on that and really decide on how to capture these moments. Now back to the couponing and maybe couponing, but the loyalty card and digitization of the loyalty card themselves. Fully agree on what you're saying, and I think mobile wallet technology also is going to play an important role by seamlessly digitizing loyalty card and popping them up seamlessly as well at point of purchases. We're still at the early cycle of that, but this is going to help on that front. But I see that these two, the communication part and the loyalty card, are kind of two separate discussions feeding into the same objective.
That's true. Sorry, may I? Okay, you wanted to just a quick little point. Sure. We've created an app which allows consumers to gift to each other because, like I said, it's all about social and commerce. So we've created this very nice little gifting app on the mobile. iOS is under development, meaning at iOS approval. Android's already up there. It actually allows you, like, you know, I want to buy, let us say, an Ace Hardware gift card, and I want to give it to you as a friend, right? Now, typically, if you buy an Amazon gift card, whether you buy it from Amazon, United States or UK or India, you will typically get an email which says, Amazon has sent you a gift card, you've received a gift card from Amazon, right? In our app, the idea is that I have sent you a gift card. So you've received a gift card from your friend X and an Ace gift card from your friend X. So there's a certain beauty to it, there's a certain difference to it, because it's about encouraging personal interaction. and not losing oneself in this digital world, while yet enabling it.
Excellent. I'll come to you in a moment, Arvind. I just want to bring in Beatrice because you've been waiting patiently to comment.
Yeah, I wanted to add on to the topics we had here around loyalty, and we see that we're entering the next phase of loyalty already. So not only collecting points and rewarding points and get a cheaper product or an offer at a retailer, but really adding additional value that is tangible to each individual. And this brings me to the human factor that Sumit here mentioned before, because of course we have to find a balance here between technology and the consumers and the staff, right? So what we are seeing is that, for instance, we can combine loyalty programs with health programs. So imagine if we look at the Middle East, where we know diabetes is a big topic, right? So we are foreseeing that I think we are already the second largest area in the world with diabetes problems. So imagine what a grocery could do when they would embed health information into their loyalty program. So for instance, I see that in not far away from now, you are walking into a grocery store with your wearable device, maybe your Apple phone or something like that, or your watch, and the grocery store recognizes you because you are a loyalty member, and thanks to knowing that you maybe are a diabetes, you have diabetes, or you cannot eat gluten, or whatever other products you have, you will get certain recommendations and meal plans, what you should be buying. And then the supermarket would combine that with products that they know that you really like, or that are growing right now, okay, because it's autumn, why don't you make a pumpkin soup today? So I think that this is where loyalty programs are really evolving, bringing in additional value that is not purely retail focused.
And the interesting thing there about what you're saying is that's not waiting until somebody's got to the checkout and then saying, oh, thank you for purchasing, here's 20 points. That's actually changing the value model of the actual shopping experience. Yeah. And you almost think that might not be called loyalty. That's more about just improving the experience of retail, because at the end of the day, if we get a better experience in that store, we're going to go back to that store. I might not necessarily think I'm signed up to a loyalty program, exactly, but I'm quite happy to have the app because it helps me shop, or it helps me buy in a better way, understand what the health implications are. Maybe I scan a product and it tells me I'm allergic to that product, so I don't buy it. Or it tells me something else. So, Arvind, do you want to come in?
Actually, just taking a cue from what he talked about research online. Now, if you look at for the future of retailing, there are two distinct segmentations which will emerge: low engagement, high engagement. When you need a mobile phone, you can research online and you can buy online. But when you want to buy a shirt, you will never research online. You may buy online, but you will still walk into a store, do your research, check your sizes, identify the brand and the model, look at the price, and then you may go back and from your app order the same thing, or maybe order in the store. So this is the distinct segmentation which will emerge. Neither online will disappear or take over retail, nor retail will disappear. The entire format will start changing and they will start becoming cohesive.
Just to add on, I think in today's loyalty, it's become so much relevant that, loyalty has become so close to how you engage with your customers, and it's not just back in the days of, okay, you make them come back twice, thrice, and then, you give them strap them on with a card, and then they're going to keep coming back. Today is a lot more than that. It's about how you interact with them, how you, personalize the experience that they're having, or how you recommend them other products and stuff. I mean, it's a lot. It's about what kind of recommendation engines you're using, and many things. So. I guess the future of even loyalty will definitely revolve around how people are using the big data, and how businesses are warehousing those data. I mean, talking about recommendation engines, I saw the other day where a guy saw a movie and he was browsing through the Amazon site or whatnot, and in the bottom of it, it was saying people who bought this movie also bought a stool and a 2-meter rope. So it depends upon how much of data is actually driving your products or and how you're reaching new customers also, and how you're bucketing them into different segments to what you're doing with that data.
Can I ask a disruptive question? At what point does it become intrusive?
Then that in itself is a whole other discussion. And I know GS1 are running a number of committees on privacy and on how do we interact with customers. And if we look at technology, and I know you want to speak, but I think we do have to wrap up because we're getting close to being way over time. Thank you very much to everybody in the panel. I think what has been great about the discussion is that we haven't focused down deep into any one particular technology. It's been about how do we engage customers, it's about how do we understand customers, how do we change the way we run our physical stores, the interaction, or as Arvind put it in a sense, the symbiosis between physical and digital actually working together so that we can improve the relationship we have with customers. Oh, and by the way, that relationship we have with customers is loyalty. So it goes again to that vision that we talked about at the very beginning. How do we build a vision? Well, we can't therefore build a vision that is just a marketing vision, or that is just a supply chain vision, or that is just an IT vision. All of those have to come together. There is a huge responsibility now on CEOs, probably more than there ever has been before, to understand the technology piece and the different elements of understanding the customer. And that's probably why people like Tesco's have put in place a chief customer officer to represent the customer and how we engage with customers on the board. So with that final point, I thank you all very much. Thank you, Retail Middle East, for the opportunity for this panel to talk about the technology, and wish you all a safe journey home. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Gentlemen, ladies, just to throw in a disruptive point, speaking as the non-geek at the table. If as a business, as a company, as a brand, you are focusing on 2020 and 2030 today, I can pretty much guarantee you're not going to last until then, because it's what the consumer wants right now. When I walk into that store today, when I shop online today, frankly, I couldn't give a rat's rear end about virtual reality glasses that let you stock up in the back room. I'm more concerned about what I'm going to see on the shelf when I walk in. What can you do with technology today that makes my life easier when I walk into that store, not what it's going to be like in some vision of the future from a sci-fi film. So what I would have liked to hear more today from this panel is what can you do now, not what can you do 10 years from now. And frankly, I'd have liked to hear a little more about what that small store owner, that small business owner, the 3-store, 5-store owner could do with technology. Praveen, fantastic, but I'm pretty sure that it is a multi-million-dollar check every time we have you walking through the door. And it can't be that. It has to be technology that you can use today, whether it's Ashish, whether it's me, whether it's anyone. It can't just be about SAP, it can't just be about Wipro. It has to be about what we can take to that small business owner and say, this is how we make your life easier, this is how we make your customer's life easier. And hopefully next year when we gather here again, that's what technology is going to tell us.
Think about us, and I'll give you an answer straight away, and we've got a solution to exactly your question. We are here for the here and now for the retailer, and not multi-million-dollar checks.
It has to be about
additionally, Ashish, one point I just want to bring out is a lot of what is happening in the technology world today is happening on open source. So it's not necessarily multi-million dollars that you're looking at, right? A lot of these can be as frugal as a $10 cardboard that you can see from Google, And the AI bots will probably invest once, cost you maybe 100,000, but you run it for 10 years. And you take off substantial operations cost, which can. And the key part here is the digital natives that we spoke of today, they love buying experience. They don't, for them, owning an asset is not necessarily the thing to do. And the bigger part is that the buying power is moving to them. Gen X, Gen Y, millennials, the digital natives are the guys who make money and they spend money. And in the next 5 years, I think they're the guys who are going to drive a lot of volume growth out there. That's the point.
And I think just to add to that, there was a survey that came out, a study that came out not too long back, saying a cost of starting a startup in the year 2000 was about $5 million. In 2010, that was down to about $50,000. Today, that's at $5,000. That is down because of technology. That is down because of cloud. That is down because of everything else that's come about since then that has brought the cost of this, or the acquisition cost down that much further.
Amish, just to add to you, I mentioned about 200,000 plus retailer base, e-tailer base, what we have around the world. Most of them are one shop, two stop. They don't spend more than $100 a month to go online. And it's today, and it's happening.
And I think the reality is the sorts of technologies and the data that we're talking about in this forum this afternoon is what the retailers are trialing, running proof of concepts on now, because it does take a year, 2 years to test it, to measure it, and then to implement it. So they are looking at locating customers in store. They are looking at customer self-service options. They are looking at new styles of loyalty programs and mobile apps, and being able to have customers see what's in stock, both in the store and other stores. That all exists today. If we only focus, and I think everyone else has pointed out as we go through, that doesn't mean you lose focus on the core. The core still exists. 90% of what we sell still sells in a physical store, and making sure those stores run efficiently, the staff are trained, the staff have the right access to technology is key. But also, we have to offer customer Wi-Fi. We have to offer online tools. We have to understand the customer and start to get predictive. And retailers are testing drones. They are testing robots in store. So they sound like futuristic technologies, and yes, they won't apply until 2020, 2025, etc. But they're being tested right here and now.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask the youngest business at the table, which I think is Ulbeck. Everyone else has been around either for the last 212 years or 7 years in their case. I think you're the newest one at the table.
Yes.
How much is this technology actually changing the way you do business?
Okay, if we'll talk about the technology, basically being a technology company, first focus, what we made, it was the data which is we are getting from our customer. Why the online business is growing, where there is already set up, we have the very good retail businesses, very nice malls, where we can spend time with the food courts and everything, right? Just because of the data, because retailers, they are never analyzing their own data. Because when I'm coming to any shop, the first problem which is I'm facing, finding the products, right? Like if you ask any helper, just where is this product, he cannot answer. Or else if I will ask about like, can you tell me about the features of iPhone? He cannot tell me because maybe he's not using it, right? Or let's say, I want to know the review about this product. I want to see the experience of the customer, because nowadays we have to understand the competition is created so many products in the same industry. Just you was talking about like 60-inch TV, right? But now if I'm coming to the retail shop, if mall very nice is made, it everything is perfect, but there is 10 pieces, 10 models of this 60-inch TV. So which one to choose? All are looking very nice inside the shop. There is no difference, right? So I have to go back again online to search about, to discuss about that. So that's the what losing now today's retail. You know, they are not thinking about like to give like when morning we was talking with the Zebra company that talk about like technology which is they have. It was like I said like this is the future of retail. This is the basically future of retail, because where customer coming inside the shop, either with his app or either with some device I can give near the door, whenever I came to the near any TV, so I can see what the people are reviewing about this TV. What's the future of this TV? I don't need any salesman, you know. Nowadays, if you walk to any shop, the salesman knows much less than I am, right? So then how can salesman can advise me what to buy? Before coming to any shop, I already research. If we are talking about the cheap items, which is customer is making decision at the time of buying, basically online also can sell this one. So this means customers knows about, right? If we are talking about expensive items, so sorry, like retail cannot advise me at the same time to buy. So I have to go back and research, get the reviews about this product, understand that what's the difference between Samsung and Apple, what the people are talking about, why I needed this phone, why I need to spend 2,000 or 2,500 dirham for this phone when I can spend like 100 dirham for any Chinese phone, we can say, right? What's the features difference? So this is all I have to review again back to online store. And at this time, basically, we are catching the customers. When they came to us, they already viewed the product with retail, and they can see the prices, they can see everything. They already touch and feel is happen. When they come back to online, so now we are here, we are offering for him, buy from me, much cheaper. Or at least like buy from me and I will deliver for you within 24 hours. So why not to buy, right? Because whatever customer have to stand up, go back to the shop again 24 hours, which is he have to spend. So that's the why is online business is growing. Like when we can come up with the idea of opening online business was the first problem, which is you say like opening the now retail business is so expensive, guys, right? Really, because if I want to take any shop in Dubai Mall or somewhere else, they will ask me, how many chains you have? I don't have chain. So it means I cannot open shop? No, guys, I opened the shop where I have everyday visit of 50,000 people. They are visiting my shop, right? Which means 25% of visitors of Dubai Mall nowadays. So that's the difference between which is we are getting, right? But we have a problem also because the problem it's touch and fill and delivery. But what problem have retail? Those problems we are covering and another problem covering retail. That's why both are working well. But I think so future can be won by retailers if they will implement really real technology, not about just computer, just processing something else or doing the nice POS machines, or this is all not the future. The future is about like when I came to the shop, so when I'm near every product, so I have to have a device where I can see about this everything and review existing customer. Whenever I decide to purchase, at the same time I have to have a recommendation which accessories I can buy for the same product, right? So at this time, retail businesses can win easily any online business. But up to that time, if the online business will solve the problem of delivery and touch and fill, so it might be a little bit late.
So I think what you're saying is that because a lot of existing retailers, physical retailers, have not pushed the boundaries, have not invested in what we might think of as leading edge or bleeding edge technologies, that's created the opportunity for the online businesses to come in.
Yep.
Perfect.
Okay, well, on that note, let me tell you what the future of retail is going to be, at least as far as tonight is concerned. We've got the Images Retail Awards that kick off at 7, which means cocktails at 7, so I certainly hope you could all use a drink. We'll see you back here in just a while. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a pleasure being here for the entire day.